Before we get started, I wanted to say that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. So we've already introduced everyone. I'm going to hand it over to Anthony in just a moment. He's going to go over a video with you all, do a presentation. We have a couple of guest speakers. It's going to go into a program advising section, and then it's open floor for a Q&A portion. And now over to you, Anthony, and we're going to start with some polling.
Okay, so welcome everyone. So before I start, I like to have a poll to see well, whether you can answer this question correctly. Okay, so I guess so far everyone has tried to answer the questions. So guess what? Every answer is correct. Actually, a biomedical engineering technologist working in the hospital, they may be doing repair of medical equipment, evaluate new medical equipment, and also ensure medical equipment is safe and effective. Plus, there are other tasks and responsibility as well, but these are the primary roles of a biomedical engineering technologist working in the hospital. So great. So next is we'll try to show a video of the life of sort of the working day of a biomedical engineering technologist that graduated from our program.
Today we're here at VGH and we will be testing out the hyperbaric chamber and checking the ventilator that's within the hyperbaric chamber and making sure that the oxygen levels as well as the CO2 levels are normal. So as a biomedical engineering technologist, you're involved in the life cycle of medical devices. So that involves the acquisition and procurement of new devices, as well as new device testing and making sure they're all ready to go. I love my job because every day is different. Medical device technology is always changing and evolving. It's really exciting to be able to work with so many different types of technology. Being able to work on devices like this is really interesting.
So the Biomedical Engineering program at BCIT is a 2-year diploma program, and we teach them all the basics that they need to know to be able to look after medical devices. What we do is we teach them the basic building blocks that all medical devices are made from. Once they have an understanding of the building blocks, then they can figure out any device that they've never seen before. They can handle anything.
My name is Emily Lankhorst. I'm a graduate of the Biomedical Engineering program at BCIT. I work as a post-market quality engineer at Stryker. You know, I'd had a previous experience in university. You know, I did an arts degree, and I guess I just felt like I wasn't really set up to find a job after that. But coming to BCIT, just, you know, the work placements, the industry connections, the hands-on lab experience, yeah, I just really felt like BCIT offered the technical skills that I needed to, you know, be able to work right away. Thanks to BCIT, I have a really rewarding career that's just full of possibilities and opportunities for the future to grow, develop, keep learning, and keep working in a really cool, you know, field of healthcare.
So I hope the video give you some idea of what is the job of a biomedical engineering technologist graduated from our program, as well as a glimpse at what was happening at BCIT during their training and education. So actually, what is biomedical engineering? Basically, the term is very broad and the field is very broad as well. In a nutshell, is that biomedical engineering applies science and engineering to healthcare and medical device industry. So it can encompass a lot of different field and area like tissue engineering, nanotechnology, a lot of areas. But the program at BCIT is focused on medical device technology. Next slide, please. So our program at BCIT, next slide, please. Focus in medical device technology. So we are a 2-year full-time diploma program. We have lectures, labs, and projects which deliver a strong foundation of knowledge to our students. We like to say that our grads, after they finish our program, should be able to enter the workplace and almost immediately to be a functional biomedical engineering technologist. So we provide a lot of labs, hands-on labs together with the theory, and then we also have practicum at the end to allow our grads to apply all of the knowledge in a real working practical environment. And throughout the 2 years, we have guest speakers, we have field trips, etc., to allow students to know what better the industry and able to apply hands-on learning. Next slide, please. A little bit about the history of our program. Our first graduating class is in 1969. I guess that's, well, older than many of you. So our first graduating class in 69, so our program started in 1967. We are nationally accredited. What it means is the credential, your education is recognized across Canada, together with other institutions. As well, through the national accreditation, our credential is recognized in some other countries, including Australia, the States, etc. We have about 40% of students straight from high school, which means that they just finished grade 12 and they enter into our program, as well as the remaining. We have a lot of students that has a degree or some post-secondary education. In terms of the student population, right, in general is around the late 20 or early 30. About 40% are female students, as you may notice in the video, right? We have quite a large number of percentage of female students compared with some other engineering program, right? For example, mechanical, civil, they may have only a few female students in the field. And it's because the nature of biomedical engineering, the work is either gender will be able to work and cope with the environment. And many of our students, they got awards in engineering design competition, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And over 90% of biomedical engineering technologists working in BC hospitals are graduated from our program. Next slide, please. So I want to introduce our student, our current second-year BMed student, Manisha. She's going to talk a little bit about why she's in this program and what does she think about future jobs, etc. Manisha?
Thanks, Anthony. Hi, everyone. As Anthony mentioned, I'm Manisha. And so why I joined this program was I've always been intrigued with building and design from a young age. I would love fixing things around the house and attended many engineering seminars in different universities and outside of school. So I always knew that I had a passion for engineering and doing hands-on work, but I never knew exactly what I wanted to pursue. I also always had interest in the healthcare sector. So when I stumbled upon this program, I knew it was a perfect kind of combination of both of my interests. Now that I'm in the program, there are a lot of things to enjoy about it and also the job. One thing that I enjoy the most is the constant human interaction and the satisfaction that comes from helping save a life all through solving a technical problem. As for the program, one of the best things, in my opinion, is the small classes. So these small classes, you usually only have about 20 to 30 people in your class. This allows you to create a tight-knit group, and also with the instructors, you get to know everyone very well. Also, BCIT is known for being very hands-on. So there's tons of opportunities for group work, getting your hands on medical devices, and doing a lot of fun labs. So through this, you're also able to gain some great employability skills such as teamwork, time management, and have a great work ethic. Over the summer, I also had the opportunity to work at Surrey Memorial Hospital as a co-op position. So that was last summer. This gave me insight of a role as a biomed in a hospital. And it gave me a good idea of what a biomed exactly does. In classes, you're more learning about theory, but the practicum is where you put all of that theory into play. As for the future, I'm hoping that I could get a practicum position in the private sector. This will allow me to get a better idea of what the private area does as well, so that I can make better judgment of what would be a better fit for me after post-graduation. So in 5 years, I'm hoping to either be working as a field service engineer for a medical device company, or to be working as a biomedical engineer technologist at one of the hospitals in Lower Mainland.
Okay, thank you, Manisha. Next slide, please. So I think what Manisha talked about is a sort of a typical student profile of our program, where a student is interested in science and technology. They like to do hands-on stuff, but they also are interested in healthcare. So this will be a good combination of interest to get into our program. So within the program, once they are in the program, what does student do? I mentioned earlier, it's a 2-year full-time diploma of technology program. Every year there are 15 academic terms, about 30 contact hours per week. And these contact hours are like lectures, tutorials, and a lot of them are laboratory sessions that provides real hands-on experience in working on transducer medical devices or electronics, etc. The student will learn the hand skills and actually have some real practical experience on these technology. In addition to that, in the first year, there's a 5-week skills development terms. Because if someone want to work on medical devices, they need to know, for example, as simple as how to open up a medical device, right? Also know about something like material. If they are designing something, they need to pick and choose the right material, as well as some special skills like 3D printing, scanning, knowing some special adhesive and how they react on different type of material. They need to learn about soldering. They need to learn about, for example, designing a printed circuit board and designing a circuit, right? Some circuit simulation programs, mechanical skills such as simple as choosing proper screwdrivers, and also operating some simple power tools like the drill, etc. So this is a 5-week term that we focus on the skills development in year 1. And in year 2, again, there are 15 weeks of what we call academic terms, which they learn on different medical devices, standards, computer, networking, programming, etc. But at the very end during the last term of the program, every student will need to do a capstone project, which they will either pick a project themselves or they will be suggested or assigned a project that they will build from scratch until putting together the device and sort of test it on some clients or test it in the lab. So that's a capstone project in year 2. And after they finish the academic term, all students are required to go to work in a company or a hospital, which we call that an industry practice. That's at the end of year 2, which spent for 5 weeks. So the current student like Manisha, right after she finished in April or towards the end of April, she will be going to work in either a company like maybe Stryker that she mentioned, or in the hospital for 5 weeks. During the 5 weeks, they will be using what they have learned throughout the 2 years in a real working situation. So most of our practicum students will be treated as an entry-level biomedical engineering technologist, and they will be assigned different tasks or jobs like a biomedical engineering technologist will do in the industry setting. Next slide, please. So, well, I mentioned about Capstone Projects. So I'll let Alex Sayer, who is one of our faculty member and who graduated not too long ago, to talk about student projects at BCIT.
It's every year it gets a little bit scarier saying I graduated in 2012. Yes. So at the end of your 4 years or your 2 years for terms, you get a little bit of creativity involved where you're able to think about, conceptualize, design an actual medical device. What we see here now is a lot of what we're doing in the project course is actually assistive devices. So you actually get to work or build a device for a specific person living with a disability to hopefully help them alleviate some of their tasks. So this project right here is a communication device built for someone with ALS, a little microcontroller in there that the students have programmed, and the person can type out different things and it will actually talk for them. If you go to, Julie, if you just hit next, bring up the other photos. Perfect. So this a familiar set of eyes to me. In my year, I actually developed a eye tracking device, just a very crude device that would just detect if you're looking up, down, left, or right. And we actually use that as a 4-way switch. And that was intended to give people living with ALS a little bit more means of control over their environment compared to just a single switch that would just be on or off. Now they have 4 different options. Instead of looking at a scrolling menu like you would see up on the LCD screen up there, they would now be able to have more means of control of input to that device. And I think there's one more. The next one was looking at the bone density to track actual. And this one on the left, again, it's monitoring how bones actually heal. And the project in the middle here, this is our students from last year. I believe they won an award for this. It's actually a heating pad that detects whether there's a pressure switch on there. So when the patient actually or the user has their elbows on there, the heat pads would actually start warming up. So otherwise, it will detect if the patient's in the chair or not. Otherwise, it's just turned off. And you notice they're actually monitoring it with a patient monitor and just a temperature probe that you would use in your medical devices lab. So they're just multi-purposing that.
Okay, thanks, Alex. So as you may notice, right, many of our student projects enter into engineering design competition. They are competing with university like UBC, UWake, SFU engineering students. We're able to win a lot of prizes over times. If you are interested to look into more detail about our student capstone project, you can go into our BCIT webpage, right? On the front page, there's a hot link from a sentence, say capstone or research project. So you can go there, and there are some videos as well as more description about some of the capstone project over the last several years. Okay, so well, I also earlier talked about the industry practicum. So again, this is a 5-week full-time experience working in a medical device company. So I don't know whether I mentioned, right, our program is focused in medical device technology. A lot of our grads work in the hospital sector. I would say maybe 60–70% of a grad work in the private hospital public sector, working in a hospital in the biomedical engineering department. The rest work in the private companies like GE, Philips, or these medical device imaging company. that may be providing installation, supplying medical device to the hospital and clinics. And then we have quite a number of grad work for medical device company, like Stryker, Cardium. They are developing and developing, manufacturing new medical devices. So this practicum site can be in either a hospital or in a company. Students they are assigned tasks as an entry-level technologist. And we have over 60 practicum sites in BC, as well as across Canada. We also have sites in some country outside of Canada, which we usually don't have students going to, but if there's interest, we may be able to make arrangement. Next slide, please. Julie, next, yeah. So this is the next example of some practicum sites. And these practicum sites are not just we just pull from whoever, and we make sure that the site agree to provide our student with a real good learning environment, and they have qualified professional to supervise our student. And oftentimes these are potential employers, right? All these sites we have grads working in these locations. So you can see there are medical device company, and also some private companies, some research labs like BC Cancer. We have a lot of hospital sites across Canada. Next, yeah. I think when you are looking at studying at BCIT, right? Most of you are looking for, well, if I get into this program, if I finish, what can I do, right? Basically looking at your job, your career. Comparing to some student may want to say, well, I want to go to university, study arts or science. Well, I just want to enjoy my university life. But it's different when you come to BCIT. You have one focus is after you finish, you find a job and you start a career. So in terms of biomedical engineering, once you get a diploma in biomedical engineering, you can start working. You can start working as a biomedical engineering technologist. So there are, in terms of job opportunities, we try to sort of separate the jobs into different sectors. So the first one is service and support, which is majority of our grad will be working in that type of environment. So what is service and support, right? Working in the hospital, right? You do repair on medical equipment, you do performance assurance on medical equipment, making sure this equipment are working properly in the hospital, because these doctors, surgeons, they are relying on this medical equipment and technology for them to do treatment, to do diagnosis. So the accuracy, reliability of this equipment is very, very important in healthcare. So our grads who work in the hospital are primarily making sure that these equipment are safe and performing appropriately. But also there are some other tasks, for example, training the users on using devices, carrying out investigation, incident investigation. If there's something that went wrong, right? There will be tasks like to do some forensic, right? To look at what were the problem, and then try to prevent recurrence of these problems. So if grads work in the private sector, like in GE Philips, these medical imaging company, they may be in an installation team, right? Installing a CT scan, MRI scanner in a hospital, and they may be doing repair, troubleshooting, and service of their equipment for the company. So that we call this the service and support sector. Another area will be research and development, right? Say we have grad work for Stryker, work at even at BC Research, right? They are doing some research and development work. And also some medical device company, they have their own manufacturing line or manufacturing plant. For example, Claris, mobile, right? They are manufacturing, local company manufacturing portable ultrasound scanner. They have been expanding like crazy since COVID started, because their device is sought after by globally for quick diagnosis of whether a person has severe lung problem. So they have been expanding crazy, and they hire a number of recent grads from a program in the manufacturing line. And our grads working in the manufacturing, they are not doing soldering and plugging ICs and whatever. They are primarily working as looking after the quality of these devices. So they are looking at maybe setting up testing protocol before these devices are being sent out to the client, to make sure that these devices are being manufactured and then produced in a very quality system. The other area is sales and marketing. Usually these are not for fresh graduates, but for people that has worked for a few years in a hospital or a medical device company. So they will join the marketing team to go around, maybe travel around to market their product as a technical specialist. And also almost every year we have maybe one or two or maybe a few students want to further their studies. In terms of like our program, a 2-year BMed diploma, we graduate technologists. But in terms of biomedical engineering, some of you may know that, you can go into university and become an engineer. So what's the difference between a technologist and an engineer is most of the time the technologist is doing more hands-on work, whereas an engineer, they are more involved in design work. But if you look at the universities, right, usually the bachelor level is a very general sort of a degree. So they will learn a lot in terms of tissues, cells, electronics, design, etc. But we at BCIT, we are focused in medical device technology, and we are focused in hands-on as well. So some grads, after they finish, if they want to become an engineer, right, I'll talk about a little bit later on, but there are some lateral pathway for our grads to get an engineering degree and become a professional engineer. And some of our grads may want to get into management. So there are other studies like an MBA or degree in technology management that they get into to further the studies. Next slide, please. So talking about job opportunity, this is actually from our survey. At BCIT, we do conduct survey of all grads every year. And so this survey result are published online. Now, if you go to our BCIT website, go to the tab of graduation, you can look at these statistics or survey results. Next slide, please. So talking about further studies. So we call this laddering opportunity because we want students to come into our program, finish the diploma, and that's not the end of their career or knowledge or education pathway. We want to have some ways for our student or graduate to advance in both their career as well as their education. So in terms of education in laddering opportunity, we sort of identify two main streams we call. One is management. For example, someone like our grads, right, Patch, who will be talking after this. There's a pathway for them to learn more about the skills of management. Because in our 2-year program, we are so focused in the technology. So we have very little other skill like personal management, financial management, etc. So this particular stream is for people that want to become a supervisor, want to be a manager, to learn more about the managerial skills. So at BCIT, we have a Bachelor of Technology and Technology Management, which our graduate can get in. And the nice part of this is that these are part-time studies. So you can work full-time or you can take some leave, and then you can take a few courses a term to finish this degree. And then afterwards, you can get into the SFU, basically it's an MBA in technology management. And after you get a degree from BCIT, you can actually earn about a year of credit from SFU to get this MBA degree. In terms of the engineering streams, right, if someone wants to become a professional engineer, they can enroll in the Bachelor of Technology in Electronics at BCIT, which again is a part-time degree, which eventually after maybe 3 to 5 years, depending on how many courses that you take, actually some students can finish this within 2 years. Then you can earn an engineering degree, and this is recognized by the Professional Engineering Association to be able to eventually get a professional engineer status. And also there are different pathways, right? The Bachelor of Engineering in Electrical Engineering, the Simon Fraser University, the Biomedical Engineering option in the engineering sciences, that are possible pathways. As well, some students may already have a degree before they enter BCIT in our program. We have a number of grads that actually got into the Master of Engineering program at UBC. So we try to tell students, if you are interested in biomedical engineering, right, you can come to BCIT first and then get a diploma. Now you have the option to go out to work as a technologist, which, well, job-wise, is much easier to get a technologist job in biomedical engineering than an engineer's job, because there are more jobs for biomedical engineering technologists than for engineers from biomedical engineering technologies. So you got in, you finish, you have the option to work, or you can start immediately to study, or you can work for a few years and then come back and then get an engineering degree or technology management degree. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to introduce Pat Nashrin, who is a biomed grad from our program and who is now also a manager in Vancouver General Hospital. So he will talk about like his career pathway and also as employers in biomedical engineering, what he views, what type of people are they going to hire in terms of filling a position in the hospital. So Patch.
Great, thank you, Anthony. Yeah, I was a graduate of the BCIT BMET program in 2005, and I started working at VGH not long after. I had 10 years as a technologist, about 3 years as a supervisor, and been in this manager position since 2018. In between that stint of technologist to supervisor, I went back to BCIT for the technology management program. Earned my degree, and yeah, got set up, as Anthony was mentioning, on the path that I wanted to follow into getting into a management role. So a little bit about our department first, and then I'll explain the couple of pictures that I have. So we, as Lower Mainland Biomedical Engineering, are responsible for the life cycle of over 100,000 medical device assets across more than 27 acute care facilities all over the greater Vancouver and coastal area, spanning from Powell River to the northwest, all the way to Chilliwack in the east. So this first photo is from March 2020, so right at the beginning of the pandemic. when the federal government had sent us a few pallets of emergency supplies from their national emergency stockpile. These are ventilators that we were responsible for receiving and making available for use for the province if necessary. Julie, if we could go to the next slide, I'll explain that one too. Kind of that same time frame. This is our VGH Biomed library with a collection of ventilators. This is still within that first couple of weeks in March when we worked with our partners at BCIT to pull in as many working devices as we could to have them available for our clinical staff if and when they needed to utilize them as part of our pandemic response. So just to give a kind of a bit of a context into where we fit into the picture, we are a part of that healthcare field, not necessarily on the front lines and dealing with patients on a day-to-day platform, but supporting the equipment that the clinicians use. I mentioned the life cycle of medical devices. I kind of like to use that as a one sentence description for what it is that we do. And it entails a lot of different elements from the planning and procurement side. So what is it that we, our clinicians want to have access to? Doing research analysis and market to find out the right pieces of equipment. Once we decide and bring them in, acceptance testing, understanding that if they are working as we expect them to do, and implementing, putting them into service. Throughout the span that they are in use, preventive maintenance, making sure that they do operate the way that we expect them to, or they're within specifications, and demand repairs as necessary when things inevitably break down. Incidents and alerts, there are issues. Maybe the vendor realizes that there's a component or a software issue that is causing malfunctions. We are the ones that get involved with correcting those and communicating the information to our colleagues on those front lines. And then decommissioning and disposal by the time it gets to the end of that specific device's lifespan. Making sure that we find other purposes, maybe donating, recycling, anything that we can do to give it more life. And by that time, as equipment leaves, the cycle has already started again. There's something that's coming in that's going to replace and take the spot that is being vacated by that equipment that's leaving facilities. So our department has in the range of 160, 170 technologists, and I think it'd be interesting for everybody here to know that we've hired 40 plus new technologists over the past 4 years, and 100% of them were BCIT grads. I was kind of proud to see that myself, and kind of surprised me a little bit that that was the case. But yeah, 40 plus new hires in the last 4 years, all of whom were BCIT grads. Things that I really like and appreciate about our work is always learning it and about new and emerging technology. You can imagine the competitive industry and field that exists between medical device vendors, manufacturers, and how much resources they pour into research and development, new ways of doing things, being more efficient with either diagnostic or therapeutic devices. And we, as biomedical engineering technologists, are the ones that have the background to understand the inner workings of those devices and create the path to allow clinicians to use them in an appropriate way. Yeah, constantly having to have creative problem solving, thinking outside the box, and trying to make the most out of our limited public funding. You can imagine that as being a huge challenge. We hang on to devices longer than we sometimes should, just because it's very expensive to replace some things. And we need to get creative every once in a while to make sure that the equipment that we're using are safe, effective, and getting the job done the way that our patients deserve. Yeah, I mentioned being an integral part of the healthcare system while still being able to utilize our technical and hands-on skills. So it's I always wanted to be connected to helping and being a part of a big picture, a big team that had some kind of societal impact. But I didn't necessarily want to be working graveyard shifts and around the clock. This job gives us that opportunity. Customer service is at the core of our practice as we work alongside professionals like physicians, nurses, and other technologists in serving our ultimate clients, the patients and the people that depend on us. Yeah, it's I would say it's absolutely a rewarding career. As Anthony was laying out the expectations through the program and the laddering opportunities. If I could go back in time to 2003 when I decided to take this course, I would absolutely do it again without any hesitation. And I'm glad that you're all here to see this and hear it from us, and hopefully be able to convince you to take the same steps. We have defined benefit pension plans, which are not as common as they once used to be. And in comparison to other healthcare fields, I mentioned this, a work-life balance. Our department is an 8 to 4 department with Monday to Friday hours. So whereas some other healthcare positions might not have that same ability to turn off the lights and go home at the end of the day, that's what this job offers us. We obviously have on-call and overtime as needed, but to have that option to end the workday at an expected time is something that's kind of unique with our department. Yeah, we like the laddering opportunities that Anthony mentioned, we have opportunities for training and advancement as lead technologists within our department, supervisors and management roles. And yeah, we are constantly needing to send our technologists off for the training that would give them the skills they need to support the equipment that we are responsible for. Be happy to take any questions that might come up in the chat, and go on to the next slide, please.
Hi, everyone. Now we're going to talk about admission. I'll be reviewing with you some of the entrance requirements and admissions processes, along with briefly discussing some key student services that are available to you at BCIT. This program has one intake a year. The application steps are filling out the online application. It's fairly straightforward. Once the application opens for each cycle, you can log in and review the online application. You can work on filling out the application at your own pace. It is not going to admissions until you pay the application fee. The date you apply does not have an impact on your application. You have until the application deadline date to submit your application. Regarding the application process, you will firstly review all entrance requirements and the application processing date. You will then upgrade if necessary. BCIT does offer upgrading courses in many subjects. Program advising can also assist you with this. Ensure that when you apply online that you have all of your required documents, such as transcripts, ready to scan and upload as PDF files. And please, I hope nobody's rushing to record or write any of this down. You're all going to get emailed a recording of the session and the slide deck. Here are some of the required entrance requirements and preferred requirements. Transcripts and documents and how to upload. And finally, the admissions process itself. Admissions reviews the applications to ensure requirements have been met. Admissions forwards the applications to the biomedical department. After the application deadline date, the department shortlists and selects the applicants, and you get your acceptance letter and you pay your commitment fee. Here at BCIT, we are committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. So there are several areas of support, from Indigenous services to student financial aid and awards, accessibility services, student health, counseling and student development, as well as recreation services. We have a program advising department that is there for you through telephone, drop-in, or email. Jesse Taylor is one of the advisors. He's great. He'll be on today's session at the end for some more questions and answers. I know he's been answering questions in the chat, but if you wanted to ask him anything live in about 2 minutes, you'll be able to do so. Here are some of our socials. If you want to get into the School of Health Sciences network and start building the community with us, It's a very organic bunch of social media handles that we have. Some of them, these are our official ones, but we have several student accounts that we support and share, and you can see their student perspective when they're in their classes and how they're doing throughout their day. There's also these links to help you if you want to learn more about BCIT or the program itself. And now I'm going to open the floor for questions and answers. Before I do that, I'm going to stop the recording, and then the floor is open.